So let's have a look at SQL. This is how we do that combination operation in relational algebra. So we're going to combine our two tables together, emp and department. And that notion of a Cartesian product, we know that the result set that we end up with is very large and has all the rows from the first table combined with all the rows from the second table. And what we then need to do is we need to run a selection over that to only keep the valid rows. So in this instance, we know that that department number has to be the same for us to actually show all the people and the departments that they work in. So how would we do that in SQL? And if you remember, a Cartesian product and selection is called an inner join in relational algebra. So how do we do a Cartesian product and how do we do an inner join in SQL? Well, we know that our SQL looks like this: select from where. And what we've done so far is, if you look at the middle term from, we've only ever used one relation, one table there. Well, in exactly the same way that we can have multiple columns on the first line separated by commas, we can actually have multiple values on the from line, multiple tables separated by commas. So what are we going to do if we want to combine emp and department? If you remember, the query was show all the staff along with where they work. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put not just one table, but we're going to put multiple tables on that line separated by a comma, just like that. Emp, comma, department. And what that actually does is it actually does a Cartesian product. So if we were to just run that, if we were to just run select star from emp, comma, department, that is just a Cartesian product. So in other words, all the rows from the first table would be combined with all the rows from the second table. But we need to go a little bit further because, of course, the Cartesian product is not giving us the result that we actually want. We actually want to see an inner join. So how do we do an inner join? Well, we add a selection in exactly the same way that we added a selection to the relational algebra. We're going to add a condition, and that condition will turn the Cartesian product into an inner join. Now we already know the condition, the expression, and we place that after the where clause. It's that one where we're saying the department numbers from one side have to match department numbers from the other side. And the notation that we use looks exactly the same as the one we saw before. Emp.department number equals department.department number. In other words, Cartesian product the tables together. So everything from the first table is combined with everything from the second table, but only keep the rows where the department numbers are the same as we parse down the table. Now, there's one final thing to do, which is the top line. And of course, at the top line, we put the particular columns we're interested in. Well, in this instance, it just says show all the staff. So I'm just going to put an asterisk up there. And we can run that in the actual database and it will produce our result set that looks like that. So there we are. That's how we combine tables together. We're going to use two tables here. Remember to always see if you can find that common column. In this instance, we've got a department number in the emp table and a department number in the department table. And we use that notation with the dot where the table name comes first and the column name comes second. So combine emp and department together on where the department number from the emp table matches the department number from the department table. So you will almost always have, when you combine tables together, you must have a where clause, otherwise you won't show the correct results. Now that's an inner join, but of course we can go further than that, because of course in some queries what you might actually have to do is you might actually have to add extra columns on the top line. Here we're just showing all the columns, but the question may say show particular columns. But of course it might also say we want particular rows. In other words, it might say just for managers or just for people who work in Department 3. And the way that we would do that is to add extra conditions onto the where clause using an and or an or as appropriate.